The amount of leave days that an employee can now take is starting to get ridiculous. And in this hard-hitting, confronting podcast backed up with no real data, we're going to ask the question, are employees taking the piss? Phil, this one could get us cancelled.
Oh, happy to explore that, mate. And in the absence of any data, anecdotal evidence, I think, is as good as. So let's run with it. And we've got opinions of our own, which I think are better than data. Some might disagree, but hey, we're prepared to run the line. But I think to add some weight to that would be the rich discussions that we're having with business owners, SME business owners in New Zealand, that help validate some of the points that we make. So, hey, look, it's as good as. Let's rumble.
Well, if we start with what we've noticed over the last few years and then start to work backwards from there, what we have seen is that December and January is increasingly getting harder for business owners, and there is less turnover happening. It used to be, okay, businesses 11 months and you're losing a month. Now it seems it's almost like you need to do 12 months of business in 10 because things just grind down in December and January. And it got us wondering, okay, is this a season or is this part of the economy? What's going on? But increasingly, as we have more conversations with business owners, more of them are saying the same thing. Yeah, I've got all my costs have to go out. I spoke to a business along the same lines yesterday. They're shutting down. It's a real shame. I've just found it recently. I'm like, this place is great. Went there. It's a little dessert spot, actually, mate. Haven't wanted to tell you because the rig doesn't approve. But there's a notice on the door, and they said, well, even when it's slow, we have to pay all of our outgoings. And I thought, yes, this is exactly what we talk about. But anyway, so sales are dropping off in December, January, but all your wage costs are going out. And it just seems that in a tough economy, more people are taking holidays. And we're thinking, how?
Mate, I would, you're just bang on the money as per usual, and I would concur with your comment about, we'd say 11 months, and I would agree now that it's probably 10, because the other clanger that we've got to chuck in there is it's not just the summer close down where we go December, January, but Kiwis love a holiday. And at the tail end of summer, where we've just got back into work, and it's just like, this is hard, Easter's coming up. And Easter's always that time of year, and then there's those punishing media outlets, I won't name them, but there's two of them that spring to mind that will always crank the headline, how many annual leave days you need to take to be able to really stretch a 2-week holiday. And it's gross. And it's a cost to businesses. And I know of a couple of our clients that are in professional services that have to update their sales targets down to take into account the lower fees that they're going to earn in those months because the employees are just switched off.
Yeah.
They're not there. Yeah. Or if they are, it's just like, right, there's the pre-holiday build-up where output slows down, and then there's the post-holiday return where it takes ages to get back into it.
Well, if we go through some of the numbers at a high level, I think there's 12 public holidays. There are now 10 sick days, which we're going to be talking about. There are 20 annual leave days, and then there are 104 weekend days. Now, not everybody gets those off, but I think it comes to about 140-something days. It's basically 40% of the year that we're not working. And people would say, well, that's great, work-life balance. I think a lot of people have got it. Let's just remind ourselves, though, that people are campaigning, be like, we should only be doing 4 days. So that would then increase again by another 52 days off, and very quickly, people are going to have more spare time than they have work time.
Controversial, mate, but I think you may have undercooked it, because on top of that, there would be bereavement leave entitlements. Of
course.
Domestic, I think it's domestic violence leave.
Yep.
And I think there might be some other ones that sneak in there.
Transitioning is becoming more popular.
What are we transitioning, mate?
I'd hate to get the terminology wrong, but you might be going through a period of transitioning your gender, and you will be supported by your employer to transition.
Really?
Yes.
And you get leave?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
Well, our employment lawyers have put it into our contract, so I won't be here next week.
Clearly haven't read mine.
No. So, yeah, I believe that's a new one, and there's always something new that's popping up, right? And I guess the latest new one that's probably been the most significant for everyday people rather than outliers is the sick leave going from 5 to 10. Now, that happened in 2021. Now, what we understand about an economy, once you understand economics a bit more, is that things take time. Much like the Reserve Bank moving the official cash rate, it takes time for people to change their behaviour. So when you change a law or a rule, it's not that the next day everybody just does something differently, but over time people's behaviour changes, and that's what we're going to dig into a little bit without this level of data and have some anecdotal reckons on this. However, I will just go to a piece of data, and that is that the working hours of New Zealanders has decreased by about 4% recently. So the data does not lie. People are working less.
Hey, that 2021 change to sick day entitlements from 5 to 10, that was the previous government. It coincided with COVID. What was their rationale? Do you recall?
I think the rationale was that...
Was it because of COVID, or that it was just a, hey, we're in power just because?
Yeah, I can't remember specifically on that, but the overarching principle was basically like, you shouldn't be working when you're sick. We're going to give you more days off so that if you are sick, you're not having to work.
Yeah.
And I think that was in light of what was happening with COVID, etc., and people being sicker. Interestingly, this is data from pharmaceuticals, someone in that space. So you could take this as anecdotal or data. They said to me, they represent sales across the country, this has been a healthier winter. So then, okay, what does that mean? Well, for health businesses, we're going to carry more stock because they haven't been able to sell them. So Kiwis have actually been healthier this year in terms of the old winter blues than prior years, according to this person I was speaking to.
And the latest lot of clowns that are down there in Wellington have proposed murmurs of going back to 5 days. I don't know where that's at on the sick leave front, but when that change first came from 5 to 10 days, I wasn't terribly fazed about it. But I guess that's my own personal lens on it. And then when you stand back and think about it from a business owner's point of view, and then all the businesses that are out there, and then we add in the layer of working, and I use that term very loosely, Luke, working from home, which people say they like to do, maybe 1 or 2, maybe even 3 times a week. There's times in there that people will be sick, and then they will work from home. And I can't reconcile, if you're sick, why you would work from home. Why not just take a sick day? I can't rack my brain around that one.
Well, that's the other big theme, right? Whereas one was a legislative change, and then the other is a theme, and then a pressure from society of, well, if you want me to work for you, I must be able to work from home. So now you've layered on like two interesting contributors. One, okay, legally you can take more days off, and then secondly, okay, the employer has the power, and they're saying, well, you've got to let me work from home. So then you notice it in Auckland, in the powerhouse of the nation's economy.
Yeah, with the greatest unemployment statistic.
Yeah, we're struggling to hold on to that term at the moment. And the roads are quiet on a Friday.
Yeah.
And also you see it through school holidays as well.
Yep.
So the roads get quieter because more people must be taking leave or those days off. Now, what I've learned about human nature is that we'll always push things to the boundary with what we can get away with. And of course, people are going to take the piss. Of course, they're going to say, hey, I am working from home today. But realistically, they're going to a specialist appointment or whatever. And again, you're going to get backlash from people being like, well, that's how it should be. People should be able to slot that into their day. That's normal. And okay, cool, like, agree with that. It sounds great. But there'll always be people that go, oh, well, because I'm working from home today to have that, and my employer is lenient and they're allowing me to do that, I might catch up with my mate in the morning, might have breakfast before that. Shit, got some bad news at that specialist appointment. You know what? I actually only did about 2 hours of work in that 8 hours, but I've protected my sick leave, my annual leave, etc.
Yeah.
Great, I can tuck that up my sleeve.
And we sit back and we have the headlines that challenge and question why we have a productivity crisis. I don't think we've got a productivity crisis in this country. I think we've got an attitude problem. There's a bit of heat there.
Yeah, we'll clip that out. That's good.
But I think the fact is that if you're working at home, be productive and work. Be honest. Like, can you look at yourself in the mirror and say, I've done an honest day's work for an honest day's pay for my employer? Because you're trading your time for money from your employer. Not time to be going and doing the washing, not time to be going and running errands. If you want to do that, do it. Be honest about it, but make up the time productively. Not just shuffling emails around or sending the odd email back or standing at the water cooler or whatever it might be when you next get into the office. Like, be sincere about it. Because coming from a business owner's point of view, it's a cost. It's a huge cost, and it adds up. And what a lot of employees, and I mean, I don't want to go down the employee angle, but what a lot of business owners overlook with their businesses is the balance sheet. And this stuff adds up as a liability. And a lot of small business owners out there potentially won't be recording the liability on their balance sheet of what they owe their employees in terms of leave entitlements. And if they did, they wouldn't be looking at the balance sheet anyway. And then tracking the movement to go, how much is it increasing by? And typically you might find the odd accountant who's okay-ish. There's not many of them around. Try and find some. But that they'd look at it maybe annually and say to the client, hey, look, we're noticing that your annual leave has grown X% over the last 3 or 4 years, and here's some standout employees that haven't taken some leave. Like, why? This is a cost. Because if these employees all of a sudden leave, you're going to have to pay that out. What's the impact? Cash flow.
Yeah.
And then the other side of it, to touch on this as well, when I'm challenging the productivity crisis versus the, let's call it, attitude crisis, is it impacts a business's break-even point. Because we've not got employees that are contributing their time to the top line, they're just adding to the overhead structure and increasing our break-even threshold.
So they're still having to be paid.
Yep.
But there's no revenue coming in because the cog isn't turning.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's
they're out there hanging up the washing or chopping the potatoes for dinner or running errands.
Yeah. And like you see it in December, January, where the P&L slow down, the revenue drops, the costs stay the same, and you go from a profitable business to a break even. And what we're trying to highlight with using a bit of maybe triggering content, but I think a lot of this will actually be very fair and accurate, and people will have stories of this is exactly what people are doing, which we'll come into that further.
But the point of it is triggering for those who are receiving the message, who are feeling guilty, who are probably the employees that are taking the piss.
Yeah.
This is a podcast for business owners to highlight the risk of the attitudes and the behaviours that we tolerate in business and the underlying costs that go unmeasured. And highlighting the fact that if you take the eye off the ball, then the boundaries are going to get pushed, like what you say in terms of that psychological piece. And it's like, actually take back the control, get a backbone a little bit as a business owner, and say, no, we're not going to tolerate this piss poor performance. Oh, actually, you want to work from home? No, actually, we'll make it a 4-day week. You can work work Monday to Thursday in the office, or Tuesday to Friday, and then that last day, that's your day off. We're paying you for 4 days. That's it. And then you've got a 3-day weekend now. Spend that time how you will.
They would like that though, because they would, unless I'm missing something, they'd be then like, okay, well, you are now only working 4 days. Plus, you've still got to give me all of this leave and my.
No, but you'll be getting paid 4/5.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
I see.
Like you can't have your cake and eat it too. How's that fair? Like the employees want to take, and the business owners, and we've constantly spoken about it on the podcast, that they're just having to shell out consistently. They're facing the cost of living equally as much as a consumer is, but then they've got the business cost of living, which goes silent.
Yeah.
Then there's the attitude crisis that we're talking about that has got an unspoken cost.
Yeah, so like Phil says, we've got to be mindful of this stuff because it does impact us. So it could be that you need to have a chat with your employment, HR, legal team, whoever you use in that space, and go, hey, if I do get presented with this high spur of the moment, my child's sick, I'm going to work from home today, how do you deal with that? Do you say, sorry, that can be a sick leave day for you? You know, how are you going to prove to me that you're actually going to work? You know, and then that's touchy because that's one we haven't even touched on, but it's like, oh, when a child comes into it, then it just opens up another whole can of emotional, my employer's an asshole. So you can't win this battle because there's too many people with too many opinions about how it should be done. Yeah. I think you've got to find your rules as a business owner and go, hey, here's our expectation. But I do think if we go back a few years, it's very common to sort of, people would, how long are you going to take off over summer? And it's the Kiwi way. We get through that to take the annual leave off of the balance sheet. It seems like the holidays are going longer. We got it completely wrong. Well, I certainly did. I thought, shit, times are tough. People are going to come back into the office sooner. People took longer holidays. I'm like, what the hell? We got to get back to work. But the reason that they can do that is because they can game the system throughout the year and protect that annual leave. So you don't lose a sick day because you say, I'm going to work from home. Or now you have 10. So there is 2.5 months that you could take a day off every single week sick and still have all of your annual leave in place. And then some of these institutes were saying, we'll give you unlimited annual leave. And there's probably data for them that, oh no, it's been great for us and whatnot. But again, there is no perfect, because a human will come into any environment and go, boundaries, epic. Let me test what I can get away with.
That boundary piece, I don't know whether it still stands, but I remember back in the day, I believe it was Te Wari, the big red sheds, had unlimited sick leave for employees. And they had data in there to show that the majority of the employees used less than the minimum entitlement.
Wow.
Right, because so they basically, I think the theory or the thinking behind it was that they kind of reverse engineered it to go, well, if you're sick, take the time off. Whereas if there's a limit to how many sick days there are, it's just like, oh, that's what I'm entitled to, I better use them. Rather than just sitting back and going, oh, it's unlimited. Oh, actually, I'm genuinely sick, I'll use this. And then by the time you get to the end of the year, the 12-month period, I've used 3 or 4 or whatever the case may be. Because back in those days, it was 5 sick leave days.
I don't know how long they've been doing that. And that's cool to be like, oh, a New Zealand company's doing this, but it's just one piece of the puzzle, right? Yeah. So everyone gets excited about it. Oh, maybe we should do that too. Let me just take you through a view of an investor. So I put my money into the warehouse, and it's November 2022, and my shares are $7. Well, today they're 79 cents. So warehouse have
79 cents?
Yes, they've completely skinned my capital. I've got 10% of it left. So I'm thinking, wow, what an innovative place that's really taking care of their customers. Now, I don't know when they introduced that, but even if I go, okay, in 2013, they were $4 a share. Well, they're now 79 cents. In the height of the bubble, they were back to $3.78. Well, they're down to 79. So this business is losing value every single day and is going in the wrong direction. So again, just because they do one sexy thing in the headlines doesn't mean they're running a successful business that's growing in value.
If you want other top tips and tricks on how to invest in the New Zealand stock market, you can contact Luke at nextadvisory.nz. But I do believe, I did do a small stint part-time at Te Wari as a younger fella, and I believe that would have been the late 90s.
Wow, okay.
That policy was around, and whether they've still got it to this day, who knows. But moving along, something that came to my mind, and people are listening to this and they're going, shit, Luke and Phil, you guys are just being unfair, you're being harsh, and you're going to have somebody sitting there going, but, you know, if you run a business like that, what's the culture going to be like? And I thought to myself, as I was thinking this, who's responsible for setting the culture? Is it the employees or the employer? Because if you're just letting the employees have free rein, then they're going to control it and they're going to set the scene, and that's going to fester out, and it's just going to be a culture of mediocrity and poor performers that are going to have an attitude problem, and it's going to be this hidden cost that's on your P&L that you'll never be able to measure. Whereas as an employer, if you control the culture, you'll be in better control of the cost. And then be able to, you know, there's nothing to say that, yes, you can have the happy medium between working from home, taking sick leave, managing annual leave, all of that kind of stuff, and still have a high-performing company with a positive culture.
Well, speaking of culture, I went into an organisation that I know nothing about this week. And before I went, I was briefed with a phone call to make sure I had everything and we were prepped before I got there for the meeting. I got there, I've never been to the office before. You have to walk up some stairs. As you walk up the stairs, the values are on the wall, and they are in a framed casing of each one, and you kind of go through this journey of wow. So it sets the tone of when you get up here, this is how we roll. Now, so then I've learned about their values as I walk in. I'm like, this is great. I get greeted.
Was Kaizen one of them?
No, these are like proper values that you've put some thinking into, not like, hey, we should Google world's popular.
What's trendy? Yeah.
I get greeted by some of the staff. The business owner is working, but he'll be with me when the time allocation starts effectively.
Wow.
I then run into some tech issues whilst in the meeting. I have an apology from the business owner. Luke has flown down here from Auckland. Like, let's make sure that he gets everything he needs. This is not good enough. And I'm like, man, this is a high-performing environment. I'm then like, okay, I've got to head to a meeting after. Oh, we're going to put on a morning tea for you. I'm like, oh, I thought you were prepping morning tea for the office. No, well, you've come all the way down here. Here's there's a couple of juices, and do you want something to eat?
Sausage rolls on.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, this is clean stuff, man. This is clean. It wasn't a parliament meeting. Bloody hell. Yeah, they would have been late, blowing the budget.
There would have been
not
oysters and champagne, sure.
They would have texted me 5 minutes after that. Oh, sorry, I forgot the meeting was on. And I left being like, whoa, that's a good environment. And it comes from the top of like, here's what we expect. The next day, I get a text from the business owner. They don't have my number, so they've had to go get it from somewhere.
Find it.
Hi, Luke. And then a very lovely message, and let's stay in touch. Like, this person knows. Like, this is now probably a 0.1% business in New Zealand. No one does this shit anymore.
No.
And it was refreshing to be back in an environment and think, man, like, no wonder they're a team of 17 and crushing it and doing well, have young people that are dressed well, look good, and sending it and making shit happen. Very impressive.
Wow. And I guess going into an organisation like that where it is like that's a 1%er, because that's so few and far between across the businesses that we ever see, that it highlights that if you do things, you do them well. It's actually, in New Zealand, if you do it consistently, quite easy to be successful in business. That
was my takeaway, yeah. I'm like, that is, people think that you've got to have, and even I was talking to James Fuller from Henry the other day, he's like, people approach me and everyone thinks I've got to have the moonshot. But really, this is a good example of you just need to do the basics and do them really well. What used to be the basics and set a good culture.
I mean, we're not saying that it's like, it is hard work, but if you do hard work consistently, and it's the little 1% increments and being 1%, finding a little bit in your business and go, okay, how can we improve that? Go and experience other things and like, oh, okay, I could learn from somebody else. Or you go to another, and I share the retail experience between that I had between the regions in Auckland recently, of just how night and day it is, the experience of going into a regional shop. And they're pleasant, they're welcoming, there to serve you. Any question, not a problem. Go to Auckland and it's just somebody sitting behind the counter on their phone, scroll hole, waiting for you to make a decision, come to the counter and buy something. And it's just like, it's night and day. So those businesses in the region, if they came to Auckland and injected some cash here, you'd need to bring a lot because we have our problems. Chances are you could make it back. It might take 10 years because it's a slow-going city. You've got to navigate the cones. But it just highlights that if you are prepared to be that little bit better than somebody else, you can be successful.
Yeah, I think the word standards, right? And we bang on about this all the time, but actually having good, high-quality standards. And it's the old saying, you said before it could be hard, but it's like, well, if it's easy, everybody could be doing it. And that's why it's easy to be an employee, take 10 sick days, take 20 annual leave days, take 12 public holidays, and take 104 weekends, and then go, shit, man, the business owner over there seems to be doing pretty well. Well, yeah.
I wondered, back on the old working from home thing and just thinking about standards, I wonder how many of these SME businesses, and again, just to reinforce like who we're talking to as SME business owners, not employees, not the corporates, would be the old P word, policies. How many typical SME businesses in New Zealand are going to have a policy about working from home?
Yeah.
None. Donut. Crickets. That actually sets the scene of what the expectation is of working from home. And then importantly, to then go, how is that measured? Because when you were talking about it a little while back, the first thing that came into my mind was like, yeah, boy, we're getting timesheets into every single business that's going to track time of what you're doing at home and recording things. And then the other thing would be screen recording or doing those movement recordings of your device at home. It's like, what are you doing? Like, those things that are moving the mouse every 5 minutes. I mean, people are onto those, but are you actually genuinely doing some work?
I had a story recently from a business owner, and basically they were, you can work from home because your child's sick, and they went into their inbox at 3 p.m. and nothing had been opened, like nothing was done between 9 and 3.
Wow.
And then they said to them, like, hey, remember, we still need to do this before the end of the day. You're going to be able to get it done. Yeah, I'm working on it now. And they're like, how can you be? Because I know that
everything's unopened.
Yeah, so you've got 2 hours left to do this, like, unless you've been working on it all day. But then it doesn't get done. Oh, hey, I'm going to have to finish this on Monday. And so the deadline gets pushed again. And then...
hello, what happened to Saturday and Sunday?
Come work at Next Advisory. We don't know what day it is. But then what was a deadline is now pushed out further. And so then whoever was waiting on that, well, then the whole thing slows down. And people don't get it.
And that's a really good example of the productivity crisis versus the attitude crisis that we've got. That has now become a cost to a business for no return. Somebody has not done an honest day's work for an honest day's pay, it's cost the employer with no revenue generation. And then they've immediately says, oh, I'll do it on Monday. And then I've like, well, hang on a minute. You've cost me on my time on Friday. I've paid you for your time. You haven't done it. There's still 2 days before Monday. Like, lift it because we've got stuff to do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ruthless, but like, when does it become fair for the employer?
Yeah. It's really hard for me to understand because from a young age, I was drilled into like deadlines and get it done. And well, that's your fault it's not done. Fix it. And so I'm like, okay.
I remember my first part-time job as a young fella still at school. And it's just like your shift starts at 10 o'clock and you're there at blimmin' 9:50, ready to clock in, because back in those days it was, I don't think it was the manual punch cards. There was a little bit of technology with some swipe cards or something. And you're swiping in before, or punching or whatever it was, before the shift started. Not at 10 o'clock, not 10:05 or 10 past 10. It's like you start at 10. So it's like, okay, well, if I'm starting at 10, that means I actually am working at 10 o'clock, not punching in at 10. And then it's just like, right, well, okay, I finish at whatever time it is, 3. Well, I stop work at 3 and then I'm not punching out at 3. I'm finishing what I'm doing at 3 and then I'm leaving.
Yeah.
And I think it's just, as you say, those younger, when you're younger, those work habits and ethics that are drilled into you, and I think it comes from the home front, that then set you up, if it's done right, sets you up for a productive and a successful later life as an adult.
So maybe some of these business owners need to be teaching their kids some good attitude around, working hard and doing what's expected and how to get ahead and showing initiative and connecting with people and what good service is and learning more about it. Yeah.
I think the key takeaways for a SME business owner, if you've managed to get this far through the pod, would be any payroll software that you're using is going to have reporting on it that will give you the leave liability that you're carrying. And I would suggest you run that to have a look at what's sitting there, who's got the most, who's got the least. If you don't know how to run it, ask your payroll provider. And then if you don't know how to understand it, talk to your accountant. But then not only look at that data at a set point in time, say the end of, at the time of recording this is early September, so the end of August, you could compare it to August last year and go, has it increased, has it decreased, what am I doing? And look for those insights and go, oh, gee, I didn't know there was this much. Then go, right, how can I manage this and get this cost down? The other one that you could look at would be that sick day report. Most employee contracts do limit sick leave being accrued to, I believe, a maximum of 20 days, I think. But it depends on employment contracts. So that's you accrue 2 years worth of sick leave and then you accrue no more. In other words, that doesn't add up anymore. Would be then going back, how many of your employees that are working from home have got 20 days? I bet you there's a majority of employees that are sitting on 20 sick days. They haven't taken a sick day in 2 years, but they've been working from home when they're sick. Well, working from home when they're sick, when they should have taken a sick leave. That's a cost to the employer, I believe.
It's a minefield, right? And I think we're on a path where in New Zealand we're continuing to want to work less but to have more. So there's going to be more of this shit. That's probably my warning.
But I just sit here and go, bring on the robots. Like where's like everyone that's freaking out about AI and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, bring it, because it's going to sort out the men from the boys.
Those people though will then expect you to pay for their UBI or their form of like.
Oh, universal basic income?
We should be fucking scared of a UBI. I think there's a lot of Kiwi people that are like, oh, epic. When's it coming? What's it going to mean? How much am I going to get? Like people seem to think that there's this nirvana of no work, and sit around and do nothing. But
kumbaya, mate. Around the fire.
I think that work may be healthy for us.
Strumming the guitar.
Maybe I've been brought up differently. But my key takeaway is December and January will be slow again. Understand that from a revenue position, understand that from a cash flow position. But where are all these motherfuckers that are on holiday? So I'm an entrepreneur, man. I'm like, yo, where are they? Like they still got money and they're getting paid by the business to be there.
I do believe Pauanui is the hotspot.
So can I find them? Can I sell them some shit? If I'm working in retail, I'm like, yo, hey, I'm getting hard into sales in December, January. Like tap them,
Previous pods, I do believe, like you've said, it's the lawyers driving their fancy European cars. So, you could probably go and flog some Chardonnay to them.
Yeah, if I'm in Wanaka, I'm taking pamphlets to the boat ramp and I'm putting one on every Ford Ranger. What are they going to do? They're out on the water, man. They're not going to be able to tell me, hey, don't touch my car. They'll come back. Great. They've got a pamphlet. Hey, I can wash your dog. I can house sit your wife, whatever you need. You know, you got to find a way to transact with these people. And look, you know, you want to find moral and ethical ways to do it, but you might clean the Ranger. You might bloody service their jet ski. Service things around their house. Who knows what needs servicing around there?
Gardener, I mean, bushes always need tidying up.
Yeah.
Things need a trim.
Yeah. So these people are going to be holidaying in a good mood, have the money, they've used up all their sick days throughout the year or worked from home to protect them. They've protected their annual leave and they are thinking, shit, with all the public holidays, I can just about get away with 2 whole months off to chill out. And then by the time we get to February, don't worry, I get a day off for Waitangi Day anyway. Then, of course, we've got Easter. Then we've got Anzac Day. This is living, baby.
Yeah, hey, and if you're in Auckland, don't forget Auckland Anniversary Day. I can't believe that. Like, we go from having what feels like 12 weeks off over the summer period because nothing gets done. I mean, you're mentally checked out. You're physically there, but you're mentally checked out. I can't reconcile it. And then you come back, and then we're back into Auckland Anniversary Day, then Waitangi, then Easter. And then there's a dry spell. And it's fascinating, the dry spell of winter, and you're getting into the depths of it. It's cold, it's dark, it's wet, and you're having a grind. Yeah. And a lot of people, like, you judge the mood, like, they don't like it. And it's just like, that's when you should be getting to work because most people are just like, this is yuck. I mean, just like those gym memberships, they spike in that summer period in the new year, then they drop off in winter. You keep going in winter, what's that saying? Summer bodies are built in winter. Yeah. You know, successful businesses are built when everyone else is at the beach.
Yeah. Yep. It's a, you know, we're always moving through seasons and the economy and people's behaviour is adjusting to the framework that has been set. So we need to be mindful of it. My final top tip for small business owners of maybe 1, 2 employees or thinking about hiring, find out why they want the job. Hire for attitude. Find people who want to work, who have goals in their personal life. You're probably going to find that those people aren't as likely to game the system. They've got a reason to contribute to society towards their goals. They're not going to be as like, oh, so what's your policy on working from home and for sick leave? And do you have unlimited? And, oh, what about if my chihuahua, you know, gets unwell? Will you support me? You know, all of this shit, you know, what are people working towards? You can probably then judge the attitude that they may have, maybe even the inputs that they're consuming as well, because a lot of people just don't understand like how hard it is out there, and business owners, unfortunately for you, you've got to navigate that space because people aren't educated.
That would be a great test. Sorry, just a brain fart here about when you say hire for attitude and then the inputs thing is, I got a top tip hack here for the interview process. On the table, let them sit down and have 2 bowls there. A bowl full of pick a mix with a range of, say, pineapple lumps, Jaffas, the chewy lollies, some hard lollies, and then a bowl of, say, nuts and healthy-ish kind of snacks. And then to sit back and leave them to sit there for 2 minutes and see which one they go for.
Shit, David Goggins is interviewing people now. I love it.
And then, but based on that, you'd be like, I reckon 95% of people would go for the sweet treat. And you'd be like, interesting. And you'd have the old 5%ers that would go, you know what? I've got a little bit of self-control. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. I don't need to be having some sweets. I'll go nuts. Or you're a 1%er and you're like, no. I'm just going to leave those there because I haven't been said that I can have them.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. Be interesting.
Yeah, but good trial. The final thing as well is seasonal. This is something that comes up all the time. We can probably do a whole pod on this. I think increasingly businesses are becoming more seasonal, where we mentally, as business owners, we want the same revenue, if not a little bit higher, and then we're comfortable. As soon as it drops, we're going far out. Oh, this is uncomfortable. I've been having so many conversations with business owners to help them understand their mindset that, hey, you don't have a revenue always go up business. You have a, we make hay in the sunshine, and then we've done enough hay in that time to get us through this period. That's okay. Your mindset can't be, why is my turnover not the same in the winter as it is in the summer? Using the season analogy, you've got to understand that.
It still shocks me that people don't understand the cyclical nature of business. And I think in the majority of sectors that there is the cycles in there. And you can get insight to those cycles by reviewing your numbers. And like you say, it's another pod, and we could go on about it. But yeah, I would tend to like retail, dead, winter, and everyone at the moment sitting back waiting for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, which is what October, I think, is.
Yeah.
Black Friday, is it?
We've just had Afterpay 4 days, mate.
Oh, I miss that, mate. But you know, everyone hangs out for these days in retail, and retail has got to be tough these days because you've just got to wait for the next sale thing. If you're not buying it on sale, you're being ripped off. But anyway, I mean that's another thing. But I guess that highlights the shock that business owners still face when they have those months, which illustrates the lack of preparedness and poor balance sheet preparation because they don't have the cash flow to support them in the down times because they're spending too much sugar in the good times.
Well, as always, mate, I think it comes back to the fact that people haven't asked themselves the hard questions. They haven't done any business planning. So then they get preached to that success is grow, grow, grow. And so then we subconsciously think, oh, I'm not succeeding if I'm not growing. So if my revenue's dropping, which is completely normal in a season where the market's not going to be there, instead we're like, oh, I'm not growing because my thing's not grow, grow, grow. My revenue's not increasing.
Business success is built on being prepared. And I think there's just so many businesses out there that have got a lack of preparedness. And it showed up in the last couple of years with the easing of the good times and balance sheets just being absolutely bled dry. And then now we're just seeing these increasing numbers of businesses being wound up, IRD liquidations, all that kind of stuff.
And success has a different definition to everybody. And I spoke to a business owner recently and they said, my business is now highly successful. And I said, why do you say that? And they said, well, every Europe I can go to the European summer and my business keeps running. And that's what I built it to be able to allow me to do. And I can. So fuck the rest of you. I'm like,
oh, good.
Okay, well done. Being deliberate about what the plan is, what success looks like. Good on them.
Nice one, mate. Oh, well, hopefully some people have got some top tips out of that. And I look forward to hearing or seeing what unfolds in the comment section.
Yes, maybe, because people will be too scared to put their name to it. Send us an anonymous email about your employees taking the piss and we'll do a follow-up conversation about some of the things that you see in your business.